DPM Gan can still continue to contribute to Singapore even if he's not a political office holder. Remember Mr. Ng Chee Meng? You know, the government can make two roles available for Mr. Ng Chee Meng and DPM Gan after this election, and they can keep each other company. That if Punggol GRC voters vote in our team, Punggol would have saved Singapore one minister's, not just one minister's salary, but three ministers' salary. $1 million times 3 times 5 years, that's $15 million. So you vote in our team, Singapore saves $15 million. Please, Mr. Finance Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, return some of that to Punggol. Because that $15 million was not raised but through GST or other taxes. It is brought to Singapore by the voters of Punggol GRC. Just a few days ago, Mr. Lawrence Wong said or warned against voting more opposition MPs because he said that will mean an additional wealth tax to those living in private estates and landed property. You know, I cannot imagine a statement that is more out of touch with what is happening on the ground and the anxiety of Singaporeans. Singapore's inequality has skyrocketed, and the Prime Minister is effectively saying to everyone, vote for the PAP so the rich in private estates and landed property do not have to worry about paying more from proposals on increasing the wealth tax. A lot has been said about the Allianz deal. Mr. Ng Chee Meng was head of NTUC at the time, and he saw no problem with it. Make no mistake, he dropped the ball. We now know that DPM Gan also had a role in the transaction because he was chairman of MAS, the regulator ultimately deciding whether to approve this transaction or not. Mr. Tan Swee Chee has now written an open letter to all residents of Punggol GRC asking serious questions of DPM Gan. So let me say this to DPM Gan, and I say this respectfully. DPM Gan, will you answer Mr. Tan Swee Chee's questions? Because they are important questions being asked on behalf of all Singaporeans. And DPM Gan, if you will not answer, please tell us why you will not answer. Because this is about accountability, and real leadership never fears scrutiny. It welcomes it. Ask yourself this. If the PAP is so confident that they have won the trust of Punggol residents and delivered, why did they have to parachute in DPM Gan at the very last minute? Why are they so insecure? I will tell you why. They know they have not given Punggol GRC residents their all. I like DPM Gan. We have met on the ground several times during this campaign, and he's a very pleasant person. But the question to ask is, who put DPM at risk in Punggol GRC? DPM Gan can still continue to contribute to Singapore even if he's not a political office holder. Remember Mr. Ng Chee Meng? You know, the government can make two roles available for Mr. Ng Chee Meng and DPM Gan after this election, and they can keep each other company.
It's true that inflation worsened as we exited COVID and galloped further ahead with the Russia-Ukraine war. But which ruling party anywhere in the world increased goods and services taxes when the winds of inflation were raging the strongest? Which government turbocharged inflation with a consumption tax hike? Nobody did except the PAP. The PAP says there will be increases in healthcare, expenditure and other costs, and revenue is needed. Yes, both a growing population and an aging population mean higher government spending. But let me ask you, could the GST increase have been postponed? Of course it could have been postponed. After COVID, there was a political window to defer raising GST and give Singaporeans some breathing space. But when the Workers' Party questioned the PAP in Parliament during the budget debate this year, the Prime Minister responded to my speech asking, how did the PAP turbocharge inflation? Doesn't he know? The Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is under the Prime Minister's office, told Parliament in 2024 that a GST hike could increase inflation by up to 40%. Isn't that turbocharging? The real tragedy is the PAP had enough fiscal room to avoid making things worse for Singaporeans. For this past parliamentary term, we know that the government had a surplus of more than $14 billion. With such a surplus, will the PAP now have the courage to admit that the decision to raise the GST in 2023 and 2024 was poorly timed? The $115 billion collected through NIRC receipts from 2020 to 2024, which went into the reserves, is close to 3 times the amount of money spent to fight COVID, which the PAP called the crisis of a generation. And the $115 billion was accumulated in just 5 years. With so much accumulated, could the PAP have postponed or even cancelled the GST increase? Yes, it could have. On the use of the reserves to fight COVID, the Workers' Party, specifically the Sengkang GRC MP, Mr. Louis Chua, asked the PAP a direct question in Parliament. And it was this. After the largest withdrawal of our reserves since independence to fight COVID, he asked, were our total reserves higher or lower than before COVID? The PAP couldn't even give a straight answer. Instead, the PAP said the reserves continue to grow. That was not the question. To the PAP, just answer the question.